The alien didn't scream. It had no mechanism for screaming. The Velkai communicated through color shifts and pressure waves, and right now, every color receptor on Diplomat Ssara'vel's body had gone stark, bleached white, the color of absolute terror. It had started as a routine question, the Galactic Cooperative's standard intake form for newly contacted species, Form 7C, Biological Threat Assessment. Every species filled it out. The Greth listed their natural predators, 3. The Veltai listed 2. Even the fearsome Dorak, apex hunters of the Cygnus Belt, listed 4 and were considered extraordinarily dangerous by galactic standards. Ssara'vel had been assigned to process Earth's intake form personally, a prestigious assignment. Humans were newly contacted, primitive by most measures, carbon-based, soft-bodied. The form would be simple, a formality. She had asked the question with complete professional confidence. How many natural predators does your species have? The human across the table, a woman named Dr. Yael Osman, Earth's appointed contact liaison, had looked up from her tea, blinked once, and said, "Do you mean currently or historically?" That was the first warning sign. Ssara'vel had not recognized it as one. Currently, she had clarified, stylus poised above the intake form. Dr. Osman had set her tea down, looked at the ceiling briefly the way humans did when they were actually thinking rather than performing thought. Then she said, very casually, "None, really. We're at the top." Ssara'vel had written that down. 0 current natural predators. Unusual for a species so young, but not unheard of. Some apex species emerged early. Then she asked the follow-up question. Standard procedure, Form 7C, Section 4, Subsection B. Please list historical predators for context. Dr. Osman picked her tea back up and started listing. She listed the way someone reads a grocery receipt, casually, without drama, occasionally pausing to remember something she'd almost forgotten. Lions, leopards, tigers, hyenas, wild dogs, crocodiles, Nile crocodiles specifically because apparently those were different and worse, giant ground sloths, short-faced bears, cave hyenas, dire wolves, saber-toothed cats, and then she paused and said there were actually several species of those and listed those separately. Ssara'vel was still writing. Her stylus had not stopped moving. Cave lions, Dr. Osman continued, those were different from regular lions, bigger. Then there were the terror birds. Are you familiar with Phoroseracidae? No? They were flightless, about 2 to 3 meters tall, beak like an axe, ran at about 48 kilometers per hour. An axe, Ssara'vel repeated. Shaped like one, yes, very efficient. The list continued. Giant sharks, multiple species, ancient crocodilians the size of buses, massive eagles that specifically targeted primate skulls. We found the holes, Dr. Osman said, as if this were a normal thing to know. Komodo dragon ancestors, giant monitor lizards, predatory kangaroos. Predatory kangaroos. The word predatory in front of kangaroos rearranged something in Ssara'vel's understanding of the universe. She was on the 3rd page of the intake form. She had never used a 3rd page before. Is that everything? Ssara'vel asked. Her color had begun shifting toward pale yellow, the color of deep unease. Dr. Osman looked at the ceiling again. I haven't gotten to the ocean yet.
The ocean. Ssara'vel had made a critical error. She had assumed, reasonably she still believed, that a species predator list was finite, bounded, that there existed a natural ceiling on how many things could simultaneously want to eat one creature across its evolutionary history. She was revising that assumption in real time. The ocean? She repeated carefully. Earth has a lot of it, Dr. Osman said, 71% surface coverage, and most of it is, well, she paused. You should probably know that we've only explored about 20% of it, so this list is incomplete. Ssara'vel's stylus stopped moving. Incomplete, she said. Historically speaking, Dr. Osman seemed genuinely apologetic. The human expression for apology, a slight downward pull of the mouth corners, a small tilt of the head. Ssara'vel had studied human micro-expressions extensively. This one was real. There's a lot down there we haven't found yet. We occasionally pull up things on deep-sea trawlers that nobody has classified. Last year there was a... Anyway, current predators first. She listed the ocean ones. Great white sharks, bull sharks, those are more aggressive, different threat profile, tiger sharks, oceanic white-tip sharks, and then Dr. Osman said there are about 500 species of shark total, but only a handful historically targeted humans with any frequency, as though 500 species of shark was a reassuring clarification rather than the most alarming sentence Ssara'vel had ever processed. Then the historical ocean predators. Megalodon, roughly 18 meters, bite force estimated at 18 tons, and Ssara'vel wrote that number and then stared at it. 18 tons of bite force, directed at the ancestors of the soft-bodied creature sitting across from her, drinking tea. 18 tons, Ssara'vel said aloud. Estimated minimum, Dr. Osman said. Some models suggest higher. Mosasaurs, pliosaurs, Predator X had a bite force that makes Megalodon look moderate, we think, ancient sperm whales that hunted other whales, various prehistoric sea scorpions, giant cephalopods whose descendants still occasionally attacked fishing vessels. Occasionally attacked, Ssara'vel said, present tense. Giant squid can reach about 14 meters, colossal squid larger. They've been found with sucker scars on sperm whales. Dr. Osman sipped her tea. We think there may be larger ones in the deep zones we haven't mapped. Ssara'vel set her stylus down. She picked it back up. She was a professional. Can we, she said carefully, return to land-based predators for a moment? You mentioned saber-toothed cats, multiple species. 7 recognized genera, yes. And your species survived all of them? Survived, and in several cases drove to extinction, yes. Dr. Osman's expression shifted, something complex, briefly. That's actually a separate form topic, isn't it? Anthropogenic extinction. You'll want that data too, I imagine. Ssara'vel had not considered that angle. The species that had been hunted by everything had itself hunted everything. She opened a 4th page. Before we get there, she said, you mentioned the land list wasn't complete either. What was missing? Dr. Osman's expression did something new, something Ssara'vel hadn't cataloged yet. It took her a moment to identify it. The human was trying not to smile. Parasites, Dr. Osman said, and insects. Do those count? Parasites and insects. Ssara'vel had a doctorate in xenobiology. She had processed intake forms for 63 species across 4 galactic quadrants. She had once interviewed a Dorak Warcast member who had casually described fighting off a pack of void stalkers with a broken limb and considered that the most disturbing conversation of her professional career. She was updating that ranking. Define count, she said. Well, Dr. Osman said, settling back slightly, a predator is technically any organism that kills and consumes another. By that definition, yes, absolutely they count. She started with mosquitoes. Not with drama, not with warning, just the word mosquitoes delivered in the same tone she'd used for megalodon. Single deadliest animal in human history, she said, responsible for an estimated 52 billion human deaths across recorded history through disease transmission alone. Malaria, dengue, yellow fever, encephalitis. The mosquito has killed more humans than every land predator on the previous list combined, by a significant margin. Ssara'vel did not write that number down immediately. She needed a moment. 1 insect? She finally said.
one genus, there are about 3,500 species of mosquito. Roughly 110 target humans preferentially. The stylus moved again, slowly. What else? Ssara'vel said. It was not really a question anymore. It was something closer to acceptance. Tsetse flies. Fleas. Responsible for the Black Death, which killed between 30 and 60% of Europe's entire human population in the 14th century. We're still arguing about the upper estimate. Body lice, various intestinal parasites, tapeworms that could reach 10 meters in length living inside a human body, the toxoplasma parasite that potentially altered human brain chemistry and had infected an estimated 30% of the global population asymptomatically. 30%? Ssara'vel said. Currently? Roughly. It's hard to screen for because most carriers show no symptoms. It may be influencing behavior in ways we don't fully understand yet. Dr. Osman paused. That one keeps some of our researchers up at night. A parasite, quietly living inside 1/3 of humanity, possibly thinking its own thoughts through borrowed human neurons. Ssara'vel's color shifted deep amber, the color her species produced when processing something genuinely beyond its existing frameworks. And your immune system, she said carefully, it handles these? Most of them, most of the time. We co-evolved. It's an ongoing negotiation. Dr. Osman tilted her head. Are you familiar with the human immune response? It's quite aggressive. Runs a controlled fever, deliberately raises core body temperature to hostile levels to kill pathogens, sometimes overshoots. That's its own problem. Your body deliberately makes itself hostile to life? To certain life, yes. Ssara'vel sat with that. A species forged in the pressure of 1 billion years of things trying to eat it, infect it, inhabit it, dissolve it, crush it, drown it whole, and swallow it all. A species whose immune system had learned to burn itself rather than surrender. And they had survived. All of it. I think, Ssara'vel said slowly, I need to ask about your current predators again. Dr. Osman raised an eyebrow. I told you, we don't have any. No, I mean, what happened to them? All of them. The human smiled. That was somehow worse. What happened to them? Dr. Osman set her tea down for the second time. When a human set their tea down, Ssara'vel had learned, it meant the answer required both hands, metaphorically speaking. It meant the human was about to give something their full attention. That had not, so far in this conversation, indicated good news. That's a long answer, Dr. Osman said. I have, Ssara'vel said, gesturing at her now 4-page intake form, clearly abandoned my original timeline for this meeting. Dr. Osman almost smiled. Then she began. The short version, the version Ssara'vel would later describe to her supervisor as the version that ended my ability to sleep comfortably, was this. Humans had not simply survived their predators. They had not outlasted them, or hidden from them, or developed sufficient speed to escape them. They had decided, collectively across millennia, without central coordination, without a galactic cooperative, without any governing body issuing directives, individual bands of early humans had simply reached the same conclusion independently, over and over again, across every continent on the planet. The conclusion was, this predator is a problem. We are going to solve it. Solve it, Ssara'vel repeated. Eliminate it as a threat, either by killing it, driving it away, or modifying our behavior until it stopped targeting us. Dr. Osman paused. And then, sometimes by domesticating it. Domesticating, Ssara'vel said. The predators. Some of them. The wolf is the most famous example. Apex pack predator, highly intelligent, competed directly with early humans for prey. We domesticated them over approximately 15,000 years. They now sleep in our beds. We breed them in hundreds of shapes for entertainment. Dr. Osman picked up her tea again. We did similar things with several large cats, partially, selectively. Ssara'vel thought about the Dorak, the fearsome apex hunters of the Cygnus Belt. They had encountered a species of large predatory quadruped on their home world once. The historical records were clear. They had fled to the northern continent and stayed there for 6,000 years until the predator's primary prey went extinct and the predators followed. 6,000 years of running. Humans looked at their predators and started taking notes. "The ones you didn't domesticate," Ssara'vel said. "What happened to those?" Dr. Osman's expression went carefully neutral, the specific neutrality of someone choosing words with precision. "Many are extinct. Some were hunted directly. Others lost habitat as human settlements expanded, which is a secondary effect of the same process. We weren't always deliberate about it. Sometimes the predator simply ran out of space." "You expanded until they had nowhere left to go." "Yes. Without intending to eliminate them. Not always, sometimes without noticing initially." Something moved across Dr. Osman's face. Complicated. Human guilt had a specific texture. It sat differently than other emotions. Heavier, less resolved. "We're more careful now. Conservation efforts. Some species have been brought back from near extinction intentionally." "Because you felt responsible." "Because we were." Ssara'vel looked at her 4 pages of notes, then at the human across the table. Soft-bodied, no natural armor, no venom, no claws worth mentioning, biological top speed embarrassingly low by galactic standards. "I need to ask," she said quietly, "about your population." 8 billion, Dr. Osman said. Ssara'vel's color went white again. "And the predators at their peak? How many?" "Honestly," Dr. Osman considered, "some we never counted before they were gone." That answer was somehow the most terrifying thing yet.
The meeting had been scheduled for 40 minutes. They were now on hour 3. Ssara'vel had sent 2 messages to her supervisor. The first said, "Running behind, complex intake." The second, sent 40 minutes later, said simply, "Please clear my afternoon." She looked at her notes. 4 pages, dense, margins filled. The intake form had become something else entirely, a document she wasn't sure had a proper category in the cooperative's filing system. She would have to create one. She had one question left. She had been building toward it for 3 hours without fully realizing it. Every answer Dr. Osman had given, every predator listed, every extinction casualty noted, every parasite cataloged, it had all been pulling toward this single point like a current toward a drain. "Your species," Ssara'vel said slowly, "spent millions of years being hunted by everything on your planet. Things with larger bodies, things with stronger jaws, things with venom, armor, speed, size advantages in every measurable category." "Yes," Dr. Osman said. "And you survived by becoming the apex, by eliminating, domesticating, or outlasting every threat." "Broadly, yes." "And now," Ssara'vel said, "you have no natural predators remaining. You have 8 billion individuals. You have spread across every climate zone on your planet, including ones that are biologically hostile to your body type. You have done this in," she checked her notes, "approximately 300,000 years as a species, which is," she added, "extraordinarily fast." Dr. Osman nodded slowly. She could see where this was going. So could Ssara'vel. "My question," Ssara'vel said, "is this." She set her stylus down, folded her hands, met the human's eyes directly, a gesture of full seriousness in Velkai culture, normally reserved for treaty negotiations and death rights. "Now that you have no natural predators left, what are you doing with that energy?" The question landed in the room and stayed there. Ssara'vel was quiet for a long moment, longer than she'd been quiet for anything else in 3 hours. She looked at her tea, at the table, at some middle distance that had nothing in it. Then she said, "We're looking up."
Ssara'vel felt something move through her entire body. Every color receptor she possessed fired simultaneously, a response her species had no common word for because it had never needed one before. The closest translation was something like, "The moment you understand that the thing you thought was the horizon is actually something walking toward you." "The cooperative," Ssara'vel said carefully. "You understand what the cooperative is, what it represents, how many species, how much accumulated—" "Yes," Dr. Osman said, simply, quietly. "And you're not—" Ssara'vel searched for the word. "You're not intimidated?" Dr. Osman picked up her tea, finished it, set the cup down with a small, final sound. "We spent 3 million years being hunted by things bigger than us. We learned something during that time." "What?" asked Ssara'vel. "Size," Dr. Osman said, "was never the deciding factor." The room was silent. Ssara'vel looked down at her 4 pages of notes, at the list that had no real ending, at the name of the species written at the top in her careful professional handwriting. She picked up her stylus one final time. Beneath everything else, she wrote 4 words: "Do not underestimate them." Then she closed the form.